On a beautiful day in northeastern Tennessee, Jim Sickles of Caledonia, New York, and Jim Late from Myerstown, Pennsylvania go to the line in Alcohol Funny Car first round action.
Jim Late, the #1 qualifier, a 6:07. This guy is dominating the IHRA series this year.
He would be the hottest hand in Alcohol Funny Car if not for that red car in the near lane. That is Jimmy Rector from Vernon, Alabama, up against Hanover, Virginia's Scott Weiss.
Scott Weiss, a longtime IHRA competitor. Rector with a 96 Dodge Avenger pulls out the win with a 6:14.
The action is hot and heavy right from the beginning here in northeastern Tennessee. Welcome to the International Hot Rod Association Spring Nationals. I'm Bob Barsha along with Ted Jones. Just looked at four-time world champion Mark Thomas, and there is Melinda Greene, his opponent, as we open quarterfinal action here in Bristol, Tennessee.
Mark Thomas not having a real good year, a tough time, lost his crew chief, qualified #10 for the 16-car field.
He comes into this weekend #5 in the points. He has not been any lower than #2 in the World Championship for the last 6 years. Melinda Greene, who beat defending Spring Nationals champion Scott Wiene in the previous round, will be a handful for Mark Thomas. She is the #15 qualifier.
Thomas managed to set down the #7 qualifier, Mike Pressler from Salisbury, North Carolina, in the first round of competition.
Up come the revs. Alcohol-burning engines turning in excess of 1,800 horsepower. The lights flash green. They are away.
Oh, Mark Thomas first off the line with a brilliant 4:69 reaction time. Opens it up to an easy 6:21 victory.
But he's going to need to step up that number. You need to be near 6 seconds flat to succeed in Alcohol Funny Car. Now here is Jimmy Rector, #1 in points coming in. 1 victory last year, but he already has 2 wins and a runner-up finish in 3 finals this year. His opponent, Walt Prisball from Lancaster, New York, obviously has mechanical problems on the burnout. It'll be a solo pass for Rector.
Rector will take the gimme into the semifinal round. He ran a 6:14 in the most previous round. Remember, this elapsed time is very important, Bob, because it will determine lane choice in that all-important semifinal contest. Listen to the RPMs as he brings up against that clutch. Just a little bit of tire smoke coming off the pad, but he straightens her out to a 6:21. Look at the speed, over 227 miles per hour.
And that reaction time, under half a second. That is very good. Now here comes Larry Dobbs from Welland, Ontario. Canada has produced many fine alcohol racers over the years. His opponent, though, #2 in the points, just 280 points behind Rector. Jim Late from Myerstown, Pennsylvania, winner of the season opening Winter Nationals, has to win this round to keep pace with Rector.
I think Late probably will get the job done. Dobbs qualified #8. He set down Tony Bogolo in the first round, and he turned a 6:32 in doing it, whereas Late has been running 6:0s. A good look inside the cockpit of an Alcohol Funny Car.
Full-bodied machines going back about 3 decades in development in drag racing competition. Now you see Dobbs coming to the line. 95 Chevy Camaro bodywork on that car. That's new for 1996.
They will light the pre-stage, roll about 7 more inches into the stage beam. The starter knows they're ready, and away they go.
Good start for Late. 467. Can Dobbs make it up? No chance.
Wow, Late wire to wire with that 07 at 233 miles per hour.
Quickest time we've seen in the bracket thus far. Here's our final pair. There is Corky East, the track operator from Nebraska, who won the Fall Nationals on this racetrack last fall. His opponent, Vaughn Smith from Oak Ridge, Tennessee, #3 in the points against #4.
Well, this is the center of the quarterfinals. That means the #4 and 5 qualifiers meet up, which means anybody could win this thing. Smith from Oak Ridge, Tennessee, of course, the home of America's nuclear power industry. Notice that sponsorship on the rear deck, Atomic City Tool. Vaughn Smith has lane choice. He set down Monty Todd in the first round, longtime IHRA racer from Alabama with a 6:17. Corky East beat Bobby Balcom. He ran a 6:22. So Smith elects to go in the far lane over there. You can see them inching into the stage beams now. A good look at the electronic starting lights, popularly called the Christmas tree in drag racing. When
Both cars are fully staged. The amber lights will flash for 0.4 of a second, and then they are away. Great start for Vaughn Smith.
Nearly 1/10 of a second jump over East with a 6:05, 230. He's in the middle of this ball game, too.
Corky East came into the weekend just 80 points down to Vaughn Smith, but he was out-qualified and outrun. Here's a look at our semifinal ladders. Mark Thomas will take on Jimmy Rector, the hot hand of the class right now, and Jim Lape will meet Vaughn Smith. The knolls and hollows of northeastern Tennessee lies one of the legendary quarter miles in all of drag racing, Bristol International Raceway, and one of the legendary events, the IHRA Snap-on Tools Spring Nationals. Hi, everybody. I'm Bob Barsha, and behind me, the place that every drag racer wants to be here at Thunder Valley, the Winner's Circle. This is an event that has seen all of the greatest stars of the sport, so naturally every racer wants to win it. But there's something extra in the air at Thunder Valley this weekend. Number one, weather has played havoc with the schedule, and everybody's just a little bit off balance. Number two, eye-popping Pro Mod numbers from Scotty Cannon, new faces in Pro Stock and Alcohol Funny Car. Top Fuel really has only run twice, so we don't know what to expect from them. Now with one of the stories we've been following through the weekend, here's ESPN drag racing analyst Ted Jones.
Bob, last year the Roy Hill team won a world championship with Mike Bell driving one of these Pro Stock cars. Now, Roy's been off to a rough and bumpy start. First of all, Mike Bell left the camp. Richie Stevens, the teenage sensation, took his place in the number 2 car on the Roy Hill team. They still didn't do all that well. So what has Roy Hill done about it? He's added, believe it or not, a 3rd Pro Stock car. And that car will be driven by a veteran chassis builder and longtime Pro Stock driver, Jerry Haas. With 3 cars, only 2 of them managed to qualify. However, in Las Vegas, they'd say that's still pretty good odds.
I guess so, Ted. Thanks. Here's a look at our weather conditions. 82 degrees warm, a westerly 12-mile-an-hour breeze, and humidity up at 65%. ESPN Speed World coverage of the Spring Nationals is brought to you by the more than 1,300 AutoZone stores across America. AutoZone, the best parts in auto parts. And by Precision Gear. When your rear end is on the line, depend on Precision Gear. Class leader Jack Ostrander's ready to go. When we come back, quarterfinal action among the quickest and fastest machines on the planet, Top Fuel. Welcome back to Thunder Valley in Bristol, Tennessee. Bob Varsha and Ted Jones with you. Before we get to the top fuelers, let's get the thoughts of our pit reporter, Brett Kepner.
Well, gentlemen, there's actually 2 different drag races going on here at the 32nd Annual IHRA Snap-on Tool Spring Nationals, one in the daylight hours and one at night. The problem coming into race day is the fact that all the nighttime runs really have nothing whatsoever to do with the conditions we're dealing with here today. The problem, of course, is the altitude of Bristol International Dragway itself and the fact that it's been very hot and very humid during the daylight hours and very, very cool at night. That cool nighttime session air brought record numbers in every professional category field. But let's look at Pro Stock as an example. The number 1 qualifier, John Yoke, at 6.86 seconds, only a couple of thousandths off the track record at night. The quickest anybody's run in the daylight hours, 6.92 seconds. That's how much different it is. Top Fuel was no different. Doug Herbert ran the quickest daylight and nighttime runs, 5:11 in the heat, 5:07 at night. Now that means that in the daylight hours, only the people that got it figured out in the 2 qualifying sessions in the heat and humidity are going to have a chance in elimination. It's going to be real easy to spot the nighttime runners. But in every professional category across the board, they don't have that opportunity to run in the good air anymore. Back to you, gentlemen.
All right, thanks, Brett. And as a result of those differences in conditions between day and nighttime running, there's one face you will not see in eliminations. Rhonda Hartman Smith. This was her last chance in Saturday Night of Fire. An adventuresome run in the left lane, but on the right, one of the top scorers over the last couple of seasons in Top Fuel goes up in flames.
Well, it's our own version of Night of Fire, and then we had another one.
Rit Bastari, veteran match race Top Fuel campaigner, barely got off the launch pad before the back end of the car let go. Now let's get to the survivors as we begin quarterfinal action. Here is the biggest dog on the Top Fuel porch thus far this year, Pontiac Jack Ostrander, who leads the points coming into the weekend, although he is just the number 2 qualifier. His opponent in the first round, the team car to Rhonda Hartman Smith. In fact, the car she drove last year, now in the hands of Indianapolis trailer builder Bruce Litton.
Bruce Litton, who had done very well over the past several years in IHRA's top dragster category in the quick 8. That's a no breakout race. Kept winning the thing in the shootout, got frustrated, went with Virgil Hartman and said, I want to go fast and do it all the time. So here he is.
Litton in the black car in the far lane, the number 7 qualifier. Ostrander in the near lane leads by just 200 points over many-time world champion Doug Herbert. Ostrander probably looking over his shoulder a little bit here. He needs to win this round.
Ostrander did qualify number 2 and is first off the line over Litton.
And problems for Ostrander, has to get out of it. The rookie Litton motors through to the round win.
Not bad with a 5:34. The Hartman gang is in this shootout.
Well, they are a 2-car team, so Virgil Hartman will be able to devote all of his attention to that black dragster. On the left lane, the red car of Ostrander, you see, hazing the hides early. So the points leader is gone. As we move on to our next pair, this is Rocky Epperly from Riviera, Arizona, going up against Wayne Bailey from Lake Orion, Michigan.
Burning both cars out. The function of that burnout is to heat the tires up because friction makes for more traction. These special compound tires that Goodyear has designed for drag racing have to be hot or they won't work. If they don't get them hot enough, you'll see them go up in smoke again, only this time during the race.
Epperly in the white machine, fielded by Diesel John Carey. His Michigan-based operation once was a 2, sometimes a 3-car team. He's back to 1 car for Epperly. Meanwhile, Bailey was a big surprise in our most recent race for the Top Fuelers at Tulsa, Oklahoma, coming on very strong and challenging world champion Doug Herbert right through the finals. He will now go up against Epperly. Bailey, the number 5 qualifier. Epperly, number 4.
Oh, front wheels in the air, but to no avail on this particular run. Good race, though. Epperly pulling the front end off a 41 reaction for Bailey, who will move into the semifinal round.
So Bailey continues his march. Look at him in the left lane. Meanwhile, over in the right, Epperly nosing over a little bit toward that center line. The shortest distance between start and finish, as straight as you can go. Now coming off the line, heating up the tires. Our next pair will be Jim Bailey from Mantua, Ohio, and the black slingshot of Luigi Novelli from Crete, Illinois.
Jim Bailey qualified number 3 to make this field. Luigi Novelli with number 6 position. So obviously Jim Bailey should be the favorite to take up the victory here.
Bailey, the former alcohol funny car runner in the Frank Faber & Sons dragster in the far lane. He knows that points leader Jack Ostrander is now out of the event. He is number 3 in points coming in, and he has a shot to move up if he can keep winning rounds.
If these cars look very similar, that's because they were both built and designed by famed chassis builder Murph McKinney, who's been doing Top Fuel chassis for many years. Identical right down to the wing.
The thunder that only a nitro-burning car can make. They are away. Bailey just drives away to the win.
Ah, but what a win. 5:13 as he sets the pace for the field at over 280 miles per hour.
And that 4:68 reaction time, the best we've seen thus far. Now our final pair. That man, world champion Doug Herbert from Cherryville, North Carolina. He is also the defending Spring Nationals champion and number 2 in points coming into this weekend. His opponent, Butch Blair, number 9 in points coming in out of Martinez, California. This is the number 1 versus number 8 qualifiers. Herbert with the advantage.
Now, the thing Brett pointed out earlier about the daytime running and the nighttime running is becoming rather evident here as the best they're turning his teams thus far. Jim Bailey with low ET eliminations at 5:13. That number 1 qualifying position by Herbert was a 5:07. Ostrander ran a 5:08, so you're seeing the difference.
We're used to good air here at Bristol. We spoke with Doug Herbert before the weekend began. He said he thought he could post the first sub-5-second Top Fuel run in Thunder Valley history. He got close, but he didn't do it, at least not yet. And now Herbert has problems. What an upset for Butch Blair.
A big upset. The number 8 qualifier moves into the semifinals. Blair with a 5:34. Not even on the pace with his ET, but hey, he got to the finish line first. That's all that counts. Look at this one more time. You can see Herbert was first off the line, Bob, and then something went away on the Snap-on car.
Something dripping out the back of that car. Herbert is out of it, so our numbers 1 and 2 in points are gone. In the semifinals, Wayne Bailey will have lane choice against Butch Blair, and Jim Bailey will have lane choice against Bruce Litton by virtue of his quicker elapsed time. Now here's Brett Kepner with a track fact, exploring the latest driveline technology in drag racing.
As always, the Spring Nationals presents plenty of new equipment, but inside Doug Kirk and Gary St. Dennis's Pro Stock trailer is one of the biggest news to hit in Pro Stock in years. It's a brand new type of transmission, and believe it or not, Carl Kirk, Tom Pissinger, Tom Casey, and a couple other people are involved in manufacturing what could be the transmission that changes everything. Tom Pissinger, I'll ask you first. How much will this save the average Pro Stock racer?
Pretty close to 10 pounds if he does both the Sprag and the clutchless steel.
That's right. The transmission we're talking about does not involve the traditional Sprag that traditionally flips over and causes the car to not come out of a gear, and also the fact that it remains a clutchless planetary is going to save in performance too.
That's correct. It'll take a lot of drag out of the transmission.
Okay, with all that drag out of there, Tom Casey, what's the most important part on this unit?
Well, right now what we have here, this is a retrofit to a conventional planetary transmission. What we've done is remove the clutches and put some new parts and plates in here that take the place of the clutches that remove the inherent drag. The big news is the Sprag replacement. This device will not allow the Sprag to what traditionally called flipping. It's a positive locking system with a series of fingers and cams, and it just seems to be very reliable and also weighs less.
Quite honestly, because of the fact that everything in this is a positive locking part of the transmission, that means that everything goes right down to the actual strength of the material. Nothing else can happen, right?
That's correct. And it will be a whole new clutch management game to learn.
Yeah. If that's the case, keep in mind that means that everything that happens inside the transmission is going to be completely different, because theoretically this brand new one-of-a-kind transmission can transmit 100% from the motor to the rear end.
All right, thanks, Brett. There is teenage Pro Stock sensation Richie Stevens. We'll see him in action in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Bristol International Raceway. Bob Varsha along with Ted Jones and Brett Kepner with you. We are ready for Pro Stock action, but we have a little story to tell before we begin. Listen in the background.
That's the national anthem, Bob. They're ready to begin the first round of professional eliminations, and Robert Patrick's crew is in the process of changing motors. He has to be ready to go in just a few minutes. Well, he made it, and he managed to beat Charlie Peppers in the process. Peppers fouled, though, and ran a 7 flat. Patrick only ran a 740.
An engine change while the competition was in the lanes. Here in the second round, Patrick goes up against the defending Spring Nationals champion Roy Hill as you ride with Robert.
You can see Roy Hill was first off the line, beating Robert Patrick, but now Patrick pulls ahead as Roy Hill goes out of sight. Robert Patrick 704, 198 miles per hour. Well, I guess that engine works pretty well, Bob.
He apparently has the performance he needs. Now here's the surprise winner of the season opening Winter Nationals, former NBA star Larry Nance. His owned and operated machine out of Akron, Ohio. His opponent, number 2 in points coming into the weekend, Jerry Yeoman out of Galena, Kansas.
Yeoman is plenty hot. He only qualified number 8, but hey, this guy could uncork incredible ETs at any moment. They come up against those rev limiters now, something that shuts down the ignition so they don't blow the engine. And first off the line's Larry Nance. That's because he fouled, turned on the red light. Yeoman will have a freebie with a 696 at over 200 miles per hour. I told you about this guy.
Now here comes another machine capable of 200 miles an hour, but it's in the hands of recent New Orleans, Louisiana high school graduate Richie Stevens, who works with Roy Hill.
I can't say enough for Richie. The whole DuPont Castro team is behind him. How do you take a boy that's 16 years old when you meet him, that's just got out of a junior dragster, put him in a super gas, super comp car and train him, then put him in a Pro Stock car, and then give him a car that'll run 670s at 203, 4 mile an hour? He's 18 years old. What do you expect? They look at him, they say, he's driving the car. He's got the respect of all the Pro Stock racers, I think, here, and the fans, they're all pulling for him. He's a new hope for IHRA and Roy Hill.
Looking forward to college years. He's not sure whether he wants to go near home in Louisiana or near Roy Hill's shops in North Carolina. But right now, he can concern himself with becoming a drag racing superstar. His opponent, David Jenkins from London, Ohio. Jenkins set down #1 in points John Noble in the previous round. So we'll see what Richie can do. You ride with him.
You can see him working that Linco transmission in there in high gear, then hits the parachutes. An easy win for Richie Stevens. 6:99. Yeah, the kid can drive.
And that's at a 4:55 reaction time. He went 6:97 in the previous round. Now here comes Doug Kirk, #6 in points, coming in out of Lenoir, West Virginia, coming off a second-place finish at the recent President's Cup Nitrous Nationals in Budds Creek, Maryland. His opponent out of Cleveland, Ohio, the '94 Chevy Lumina of Angelo Alessi.
This is a brand new car. Doug Kirk in a Dodge. It's first time this year, and he is sorting this car out very quickly. Qualified #5 here, and could easily move up in the points at this event.
Remember, he's using that new trick transmission that Brett Kepner told us about earlier, transferring 100% of the horsepower to the ground. That's what drag racing is all about, getting the horsepower to the ground. It's rare that you can use it all.
Oh, at least he is off the line first with a 488. Kirk may be in trouble. Now here comes Doug Kirk. Side by side, Doug Kirk up by a nose. 698 to a losing 699.
And oddly, that's the only sub-7 second pass we've seen with a speed of less than 200 miles an hour. I think Doug Kirk may have something in hand for the field here, Ted.
He had that car dialed in perfectly coming off of the pad right there. You can see just how close this race was. Look at it right down to the finish.
Here's a look at our brackets and pro stock. On the one hand, the veterans. Jerry Yeoman will have lane choice as he meets Doug Kirk. In the other half of the bracket, the young Lions. Richie Stevens will decide which lane Robert Patrick will use to start. Scotty Cannon mounts the Killer Red Mater as we get set for Pro Mod action from Thunder Valley. Welcome back to the IHRA Snap-on Tools Spring Nationals. Before we get back to the action on the track, here's Brett Kepner with Drag Review.
Certainly nobody can argue that professional drag racing, like any other form of motorsports, is now officially an industry. But any industry needs to keep an influx of new talent inside it to make sure that it progresses into the future. Throughout the recent history of drag racing, people have been treating crew member positions as jobs. You need references, you need a lot of education, and you certainly need experience and ability. There's one particular person in the Pro Modified pits here at the 32nd Annual Spring Nationals that personifies the new crewman going into the next century. And indeed, this new crewman comes armed to the hilt with knowledge, ability, and is just now gaining that experience. 19-year-old Tracy Glode out of the state of Connecticut, already gaining scholarships through various motorsports sanctioning bodies to encourage her motorsports engineering degree, has recently been hired as the clutch specialist on Ronnie Irwin's Pro Modified Chevy Monte Carlo. And let's face it, a 19-year-old woman is no big deal in drag racing. It's notorious for its lack of prejudice. But a 19-year-old anybody tuning the clutch in a Pro Modified, that's news. Tracy, how in the world did you get the position with Ray Irwin?
We're friends with Russ Crump, and he's raced with my dad in Connecticut, and he called me up and offered me the job, and I said I'd try it, and I liked it, so it's my second race, and it's going good so far.
So obviously he heard about your experience because you worked with your dad a lot, too.
Yeah, I did work with my dad. I've worked with my dad since I was like 3 on our race car.
What are your responsibilities with the Top Fun Monte Carlo?
Oh, right now, the clutch basically, as soon as we come in, take the drive shaft out, and then we pull the clutch out, they surface all the 2 discs and sand the floater and the flywheel, and then put it all back together.
Now, when you put it back together, are you personally setting that up for the next run? Are you making changes?
This is like the first time, that last run, and I set the stand heights, and we put the weights on, so that was the first time that I did it by myself, basically, yeah.
All right, where do you want to go from here? Obviously, a Pro Modified team is a big step, but what's the ultimate goal?
I would like to be a crew chief on a fuel team when I get, enough experience. I know that's a big thing, and that's why working with teams like this helps me a lot to get experience to go in, or own my own shop to build race engines, because that's what I really like.
Ronnie, it seems like it might be a risk hiring somebody at that age.
Well, not really. She's enrolled in college on a mechanical scholarship, and she has been involved in drag racing with her family for years, and she showed an interest in it, and I'm willing to take the chance with her, and so far she's worked out fine. She's doing the clutch adjustments, physically removing the clutch, tightening the bolts, sitting the stands. All has to be done within 0.010 of an inch, and she's capable of doing that. She's doing a fine job.
Obviously, Tracy Gloat is an example of the new era of drag racing crew members. High-tech kids with a lot of desire that obviously are going to have to learn the ropes in an ever-changing industry. And in this particular industry, there's plenty of growth potential. That's this edition of Drag Review.
All right, thanks, Brett. Let's move on to quarterfinal action in Pro Modified. As you can see, the wind has become a following wind, pushing the cars down the strip. They add a couple hundred RPM at the top end. Our first matchup, Brad Jeter and Tommy Gray.
Tommy Gray, a little too quick, turns on the magic death ray, the red light. So Brad Jeter waltzes in with a 10.05.
There you see Jeter cruising down, preserving the equipment for the next round. In case you're wondering whether Ronnie Irwin made the show, he did not. He, Tracy Gloat on the clutch, and the rest of the crew in their first full season together, learning their craft in a very tough class. How tough? Here comes Tommy Mooney, the reigning world champion and defending champ here at the Spring Nationals. He's going up against Don Fagley Jr.
Mooney has had his hands full trying to get this new 63 split window Corvette coupe straightened out. He's had a lot of problems. This is the farthest he's gone in eliminations, and he's the defending world champion. Meanwhile, Scotty has a big points lead. Let's see how well Mooney can do here.
Cannon will be in our next pair. Good launch for Tommy Mooney. Stout run.
677. He's getting the thing sorted out at over 207 miles per hour.
So Tommy Mooney with that late model body style, similar to what you see right there on the Killer Red Mater of four-time former world champ Scotty Cannon going up against Bill Kuhlman, who's dug himself a terrible hole thus far this year. There's Kuhlman in the Summit Racing Equipment Corvette. He has had a tough time picking up round victories and is well back in the points, 26th in the points coming into this weekend. Meanwhile, Scotty Cannon has been putting up numbers that are just eye-popping.
And oddly enough, this is the only two supercharged on alcohol cars to make it to the quarterfinals. All the rest of the vehicles are injected on nitrous.
Scotty Cannon coming off a victory at the President's Cup Nitrous Nationals in which he went 646 at 216 miles an hour. That's him in the far lane.
Well, you'll see no such numbers here this weekend. The air is not there, Bob. And first off the starting line is Bill Kuhlman with a 521 side-by-side at the 8th mile, and then that big mile-per-hour charge by Scotty Cannon over 210 miles per hour will send Kuhlman back to Wentzville limping.
Our final race was a solo for Steve Johnson, so here are the semifinal matchups. Tommy Mooney will have lane choice against Brad Jeter. Scotty Cannon will have lane choice in his matchup with Steve Johnson. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, we'll switch to alcohol fuel for the floppers of funny cars. Stay with us. Time now to meet our Precision Gear Crew of the Week, brought to you by Precision Gear. When your rear end is on the line, depend on Precision Gear. Here's John Lundberg.
You're looking at a 290-inch wheelbase J. Ed Horton-built top fuel dragster that last year took Rhonda Hartman to the #2 points finish in the top fuel overall season championship. It's painted black. Its color is changed. It has a new driver. His name is Bruce Litton, the master trailer builder. Bruce, you've got enough to do building trailers. What in heaven's name is the 3-time top dragster Quick 8 shootout champion doing with a top fuel car?
This is something I've always wanted to do my whole life, and the opportunity to come available through Virtual Hartman, and we just finally decided to do it.
Top fuel is a different world. How has the population of your crew changed to accommodate that?
It's changed somewhat. Mike Wolfart's my crew chief from all the past years of Top Dragster, and he will always be with me, and he's with me on this car here too. He's very valuable, and we got some experience through Larry Lush, who was originally with Tommy Ivo. His knowledge is tremendous. And Virgil here, he helps me. I mean, he makes all the decisions on the car, and he's got a vast knowledge of the car too. But everybody we put together, be it Mike Burns and TJ Lefter and Kent Marshall, they all got their specific jobs, and they do a real good job at it.
In the very serious world of top fuel dragster racing, there's a man with a smile on his face. His name is Bruce Litton. He graduated from top dragster to top fuel and loves the transition.
All right, thank you, John. Now we're moving into semifinals of Alcohol Funny Car. There is the four-time world champ, Mark Thomas, only 5th in points coming into the weekend, as we mentioned earlier. Now he goes up against Jimmy Rector, number 1.
Rector first off the starting line will lead it wire to wire, 6:17, 228 miles per hour, as Thomas continues to search for those 6-0 numbers.
Rector, an interesting case. He has been the quickest and fastest car all year thus far, but he was only the number 11 qualifier, which tells me he was looking for a race day setup and not the big numbers in qualifying.
That was an important drag race, my friend, for a couple of reasons, one of which you may not even thought about. You realize this is every single event in the final now?
I'm getting used to this.
6:17 to his 6:25. He was all over the place, but I'm telling you now, a 17 is not going to be good enough.
That ain't going to play. No, we're going to change a bunch of things. I just left it alone. I got new blower. I mean, we got a new clutch and all in here, and I'm fixing to throw a shot.
I'll tell you, whoever wins this one's going to go and doing it. You know it.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to have to throw a shot, and we'll just see what happens.
Still, you didn't hurt yourself any. Good job.
Well, through 3 events this year, only 2 men have won Alcohol Funny Car National events. One is Jimmy Rector. The other is the man in the near lane, Jim Lape, going up against Von Smith.
These are the only 2 competitors who have run 6-0s. This should be the finals. It's only the semifinals, equal at the 8th mile. Oh, Jim Lape, the number 1 qualifier, pulls it out with a 6:11. But boy, what a drag race.
That was so close, just 5 1/1000ths of a second apart at the start. I thought Von Smith in the far lane had it won, but somehow Lape got around him. Watch as they come down to the line, side by side at half track. That's a drag race.
Well, everybody knew that was going to be a drag race, and it was, but not as quick as people would have thought. 6:11 to a 6:15, and that's with the cloud cover.
Who cares? I got there first.
Well, that's true, but you're the one that was talking about big numbers, and I would have thought it would have stepped up with the cloud cover.
I was skating, I was shaking, I was swinging and swaying. And the bottom line is, he was ahead of me, and I didn't like that. Thanks, buddy. Hell of a job.
Well, the big question is now, with Rector going 6:17 and improving each round, what are you going to do? You going to leave it where it is?
Put him in the right lane. So I ain't too worried about it.
You're an evil human, you are.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Now there's the mark of a confident man. Jim Lape just won in the right lane, and that's where he's going to put his arch rival, Jimmy Rector. Top fuel when we return. Welcome back to the Spring Nationals. Bob Marshall along with Ted Jones and Brett Kepner. Glad to have you with us as the top fuelers come to the line. Our first matchup, Wayne Bailey against Butch Blair.
If Bailey plays his cards right, he should have no problem with Blair, who got by Doug Herbert in the first round when Herbert broke. Blair only ran a 5:34. Up in smoke goes Butch Blair. His turn to be plagued. Wayne Bailey with a 5:62, 197. Not real impressive numbers, but hey, he's in the final. I'm sure that's all that counts.
It's all about the challenge of putting 5,000 horsepower to the pavement. Bailey did it. Blair did not. Down to the line they come. A good pass for Bailey into the finals.
What a hairdo, huh?
If you're going to pick a time to lose a blower belt, that was the time to do it.
Yeah, there's about 1,000 feet down there. I went, whoa. I said, whoa. Where's Butch? He never caught me. So.
He smoked the tires, but he smoked them way out there. Did the cloud cover that just moved in have anything to do with that, you think?
Well, they had oil down at 330 feet. To do it past that?
Well, yeah, he did it past where the oil was.
I don't know. Who knows what he's doing up there?
Might want to pay attention to that because the conditions are changing here.
Yeah, we're going to go hop this thing up. We got
2 finals in a row. Try to keep the motor in the chassis rails this time.
Yeah, the tires were spinning, too. That helps. Thanks.
Now, like I said, the challenge is getting all that horsepower to the racetrack without throwing the tires off the thing. Here's our second pair. Jim Bailey, no relation to Wayne, going up against Bruce Litton.
Litton set down the number 2 qualifier and point leader Jack Ostrander, so he's not to be taken lightly, and it is Bruce Litton. 5:27 to a losing 5:30. That track is going away, Bob.
I think I've got it figured out. To Bruce Litton, a 3-time Quick 8 champion, top fuel is just 3 rounds. It's just like a Quick 8 competition. He's feeling right at home in the far lane.
Same difference, except what it costs to run them.
It took Bruce Litton all 4 races to get into a final round, and it went at 27, so it's at least consistent. But I got to tell you, the number 1 lever in the class left on you, and it was only about 20 thousandths at the finish.
Yeah, I tried to, I know he's a good lever, and I tried to stay with him, and figured we stay with him. We might be able to stay with him on mile an hour because we've been running real good mile an hour here.
All right, now the big question. You went 27 just now, a career best 5:21 in qualifying. 21 probably isn't going to cut it in the final.
I know, we just need to step on it, just need a little bit of luck. The Moser Dragster is going to be coming on now.
Could be the ride of your life.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Brett. Meanwhile, in the staging lanes are semifinalists in Pro Stock and Pro Mod.
We need to straighten it up.
Before we get back to the action here at Bristol International Dragway, Holly presents the Race Mechanics, brought to you by Holly, the performance edge. Here's Ted Jones.
You know, for a number of years, Bob, stainless steel has been used in the boating industry because of its anti-rust qualities. Now, Holly's race mechanic, Roy Hill, is using it on headers on his Pro Stock car. Roy, tell us about this new header.
Well, this is a stainless steel header, and a good friend of mine, Herb Gibbler's been in business since back in the 60s. He helped people such as myself, Richard Petty, with horsepower. As you can see, the tubes vary in sizes all the way down into the collector. As a normal collector goes down into the 5.5 inch collector, this merges down and then back out.
Now, normally they go straight, but this one goes back out. Why is that?
Well, that's something between Roy Hill and Herb Gibbler.
You're not going to give us the reason you're doing that?
Well, the race mechanic's got to keep a few things for himself.
All right, thanks, Professor. Semi-final action in Pro Stock. You can bet there's a set of those trick headers on the machine being wheeled by 18-year-old Richie Stevens.
And you can see him shift gears during the burnout. Now he throws all the levers forward to return it to reverse, and then he'll be ready to go into first gear.
Right there, performing the same ritual, Robert Patrick, his opponent in this semifinal bracket. Patrick, an old man by Richie Stevens standards. Heck, he's already up into his early 20s.
You can see Patrick manipulating the handbrake as they stage the car very carefully. Then his hand will go up to that first Lenco lever.
We'll have onboard cameras in both cars. Two young lions in Pro Stock competition. Robert Patrick, with whom you ride, and in the other lane, Richie Stevens. Oh, and look at Stevens jump out in front.
You can see Patrick going through the gears right now, reaches up, hits the kill switch, pops the chutes, and finds out that he lost to Richie Stevens with a 694.
Stevens with a tremendous charge as he hits second gear. The car in the right lane just powers away right there as they approached half track.
Stevens with a 4:39 reaction time, and the crew roots him on to victory. He goes to the finals.
At only 18 years old, a young man who was born after most of the history here at this incredible drag strip had taken place, but who cares, right?
Right.
You won two big battles there. Now, I'll be the first one to admit Robert Patrick had probably tire shake problems because he slowed into the 17s. You were in the 690s, but you left on him, and that's a big, big accomplishment.
That's great. I've been trying to cut my lights all day. I've been pretty good with them. Yesterday I was having problems, but
4:39.
I got back. That's good.
That's brutal.
Real good.
Final round. 3-4 races, and you're in the final.
I can't believe this. This is a dream come true.
Not yet. One more round, it'll be a dream come true.
Yes, it will.
Well, we talked about all the problems everyone's having with the conditions. Not only did Richie Stevens cut his best light, he also had his best ET at 694 with a 9. He hasn't even been over 7 yet today. Here come Jerry Yeoman and Doug Kirk.
He'll have to get past Yeoman. A 4:35 light for Jerry Yeoman. Doug Kirk is in big trouble. Jerry Yeoman, a 692. He beat him by 200ths, not only in ET, but in reaction time. Richie Stevens doesn't have this one yet.
Let's check the road to the finals. Richie Stevens beats Steve Williford, David Jenkins, and Robert Patrick. On the other side of the track, Jerry Yeoman had the tougher road, beating John Montecalvo, Larry Nance, a proven winner, and Doug Kirk, a former world champion. Let's move on now to the Pro Modified semifinals. Brad Jeter in the near lane going up against Tommy Mooney, who put him there.
These two cars are almost identical. The hottest thing to hit Pro Mod 263 Corvettes with 706 cubic inch nitrous-injected Pontiac engine. And look how even they are at the 8th mile mark. Look how even that race was. A 674 for Brad Jeter to a losing but quicker Tommy Mooney's 673.
You know, I think Tommy Mooney had this race won at half track, and then he got a little bit out of shape, a little hesitation on the throttle. Look at him bouncing around in the right lane. And that was all Brad Jeter needed to stick his fender out front.
Brad Jeter debuted this car at the beginning of the year, his sophomore year in Pro Modified Eliminator. It ran nothing but 650s everywhere. It ran real good here, too, number 6 qualifier, but you just proved something else. You're a driver, whole shot win, 674 to a 73 loser.
Well, Brad, I got to say, man, I got to thank Tommy Mooney a lot. If it wasn't for Tommy Mooney, I probably wouldn't be here. Tommy's helped me a bunch with this car, this clutch combination. I got to thank my crew, Blake Wiggins, my father, my whole family. I tell you what, this racetrack here has been good to me.
This is an interesting angle for you, too, because, like I said, the car was number 2, 3 qualifier almost everywhere we went so far this year. Now it's in a final round, which is better.
Oh, yeah, Brett, I've been struggling with this clutch combination, and I've struggled all day today. I got lucky and got by the second round. I guess the good Lord's looking out for me. I got to thank ESPN, the IHRA, and the good Lord.
One more to go, buddy.
Thank you.
What a victory it would be for Brad Jeter. Now, notice all the smoke coming from Steve Johnson's 57 Chevy Bel Air. That motor does not look right, and he's going up against the quickest and fastest car in the class, in Scotty Cannon.
Steve Johnson turns on the red light, had nothing to lose, took a shot on the tree, and that's why. But look, smoke pouring out of Scotty Cannon's red Mater. He may be in trouble going into the final. A 668 ET, though.
Checking the replay, the red light flashes in Johnson's lane. Meanwhile, Scotty Cannon a little bit out of shape. Mechanical problems at the big end.
Emerging from the mist. I don't need to tell you what happened.
Kick the rods out, old Betsy.
She's dead.
We got 3 more, and we ain't got 1 more round, so we should be all right.
Well, but even so, you never expected this.
No, I mean, it was running good all weekend. It's safe, and I think we had a little more. I don't know. It's been shaking all weekend. I mean, when you shake every round, I mean, you bat on the crank and the mains, and also, you know, maybe I took a main or something out of the round before I hadn't checked them in the last 2 runs because the motor looked good, but you never know. But
well, now the fans get to watch one of the greatest crews in drag racing do their stuff in 15 minutes.
Well, we're wide open. Thank you.
Meanwhile, some of the crews are already busy in the pits. We'll take a quick timeout and return for happy hour in Thunder Valley. Finals in all of our professional categories. Nationals, there is Scotty Cannon as his crew goes to work. Out comes the bad mill, in goes the good mill. Here's Brett Kepner.
Old Betsy is dead. No question about it. That one won't be firing off any more 650s at this event. But the motor that's going in between the frame rails of the Onsat Magazine 63 Corvette right now is the baddest dude in Cannon's arsenal. It's the motor he calls Big Bird. The motor that ran 6.41 seconds at the recent President's Cup Nitrous Nationals at over 219 miles an hour. And Cannon says, hey, they want to play rough? No problem. One thing's for darn sure, people can't accuse Cannon of not burning up the parts to win these rounds.
All right, thanks, Brett. Meanwhile, burnouts are complete for our top fuel final. There is Bruce Litton in his first ever final in the class. Nitromethane burning 5,000 horsepower behind his back. His opponent, Wayne Bailey, will be in the near lane in a similar machine.
This is going to be the clutch setters race right here. This track is going away. You can't pay any attention to previous ETs. And right there it is. Up in smoke goes Bruce Litton. Wayne Bailey will cruise into the victory with a 564. He slows down every round and wins the race.
Something else Wayne Bailey does is shed parts. In the previous round, it was the blower belt. This time, it's the blower drive. In the right lane, Bruce Litton goes up in smoke. Now watch the left lane right there as the part comes flying off Bailey's machine. We move on to Alcohol Funny Car. This is Jim Lape, who was to have a matchup with Jimmy Rector, a rematch, if you will, from our season opening Winter Nationals. But problems for Rector means he is pushed away. It is Lape who will solo to the victory.
Total and complete domination of this class this year. Jim Lape solos to a 609. He didn't have to push that car that hard. He's a real racer, Bob.
He wanted to put on a show for the fans with one car, and he does it. Jim Lape takes the victory in Alcohol Funny Car. 2 more finals still to come. Scotty Cannon ready to go after that engine change. And in Pro Stock, Richie Stevens buckles in for his first Pro Final. Back in Bristol, Tennessee, Scotty Cannon pulls the all-conquering Killer Red Tomato Onsat Chevy Corvette into the far lane. His opponent, Brad Jeter, in the finals of Pro Modified at these Spring Nationals.
Nitrous injected against a supercharged car. You can see him off the starting line. First away was Brad Jeter. Now here comes Scotty Cannon. That big blower passing that air. Waste Big Bird is a dead bird. 664, though, picks up the victory. He doesn't care. He'll go back and rebuild Big Bird.
Oh, my. What a weekend it has been for Scotty Cannon. As you see both cars carrying the wheels. Jeter a little out of shape, had to get out of it just for a moment. Scotty Cannon runs straight and true. And watch for the telltale smoke as Big Bird ruffles feathers everywhere. Maybe molts is the word I was looking for. At any rate, we go on to our Pro Stock final. There is 18-year-old Richie Stevens going up against the crafty Jerry Yeoman, who had lane choice, chose to put Stevens in the left lane.
Watch how busy Richie Stevens is in that cockpit now. You'll notice that leg after it comes off of the clutch pedal. He misses the parachute, but now opens it. It appears as though Jerry Yeoman wins, but no. Let's go back and look up at the starting line, and you'll see Jerry Yeoman made a big mistake. It's called a red light. Richie Stevens wins his first ever IHRA National Championship event. Watch the cars as they come down. Now Richie Stevens pulling way over along that side disqualification line. Did he touch it? No, he did not. Goes across the finish line and picks up the victory. Had he touched that line, he'd have lost.
I don't know if Richie Stevens had the presence of mind in his first national event final to realize it, but we just now are being told that you are the winner because they had to check to see if you crossed the outer boundary after Jerry Yeoman went red.
I can't believe
the car was way over there.
I don't know what happened. I think I hit they had a bump in the left-hand lane that they told me about the other day, and I completely forgot about it. And I hit it, I guess.
It was within inches, and like I said, it was a delayed decision, but it's official. You're a Pro Stock national event winner at 18.
It's a great feeling. I can't believe it. I got to thank Mr. Roy, Miss Kathy, the crew, my mom, my dad, DuPont, Castro, Ford, everybody else who's helped. It's been great.
There aren't many 18-year-olds in the world that can say this, buddy.
It's great.
Great job.
Thank you.
And putting icing on the cake, Richie Stevens' reaction time, 4:06. Let's take a look at the points, Ted.
All right, let's begin with top fuel, and you'll see what a battle it is. Only 30 points between first and second place. This one is going to come down to the wire. Jerry Yeoman picks up a commanding lead over Robert Patrick in Pro Stock, and in Pro Modified, Scotty Cannon, and Scotty Cannon. Alcohol Funny Car, only 20 points difference between first and second.
It's going to be a great season, and we hope you'll be with us every step of the way. Our ESPN coverage has been brought to you by McGuire's Car Care Products. McGuire's for that brilliant finish. Our next stop will be the Empire Nationals in upstate New York. I'm Bob Barsha for Ted Jones and Brett Kepner. So long, everyone.